What are these tiny little doodly-doodlies I got here in my hand? Well, I'll tell ya, they just happen to be the Raycon Everyday E25 wireless earbuds. Alaka, open the box! Raycon Everyday E25s, comfortable, low-profile, high-quality earbuds that come with a nifty little charging case, so you can listen to up to 24 hours without having to plug anything in. These things are easy to hook up to Bluetooth and offer a meaty, bassy listening experience despite their winkly-dinkly little size. I use mine all the time during any and all of the day's activities, and they've allowed me to enjoy my music more regularly than ever. They're about half the price of other premium wireless earbuds, and you can get 15% off at buyraycon.com/Arlo, link down in the description. Many thanks to Raycon for sponsoring yet another one of my videos. I mean, I'm basically their mascot at this point, I think. You guys need a mascot? You can put me on the box, I don't mind. Anyway, on with the video! Seriously though, call me. Gonna mow the lawn. Hello, my friends. It is time for yet another video where a 30-something Nintendo nerd on the internet tries to tell a multi-billion-dollar corporation how to do its job. One of those discussions that, were I not a YouTuber, I would probably be angrily delivering to an annoyed friend with my mouth half full of sandwich. But today, you are the annoyed friend, and unfortunately, I do not have a sandwich. And today, I want to talk about how Nintendo is currently sitting on a big opportunity. I covered this topic a good amount in the video I did about how Nintendo is dragging their feet when it comes to providing us with legacy content. If you haven't seen it yet, I'm willing to toot my own horn a bit and say it is one of the videos I am most proud of. If you have seen it though, forgive me for reiterating many of the same points in this video. The overall idea was that for the first time in quite a while, Nintendo has a very large install base comprised mainly of core gamers and a platform that is moving its software in very good numbers. And by not giving people access to games and even entire series that might interest them, Nintendo is missing out on a chance to build up new fans of those series. I maintain this opinion, though today I would like to focus more on the idea of new titles rather than mostly focusing on the lack of old ones. As you might know, I'm fascinated by sales figures, and since that other video, some figures have come in that have put things into even clearer perspective. I did a video on that too. What can I say? Making videos is candies for Arlos. I would also like to give special attention to the little guys, the IPs that have always struggled to make a splash when it comes to sales. Because I truly believe that this opportunity I keep speaking of is golden. It's not just an opportunity to make a lot of money, but the opportunity to turn some, if not all, of those little guys into big guys. Also, I am now very eager to get through this video because afterward I am most definitely getting a sandwich. As I said in my other video, the Switch is perhaps the healthiest platform that Nintendo has had in decades. And when I say healthy, I don't simply mean successful. Some might look at the Wii U as a failure, but then to the Wii as an overwhelming success. But in my opinion, not every success is a healthy one. The Wii made a ton of money, but a very large amount of its install base was made up of non-gamers. I mean, that was the whole point of the Wii. It was designed to get anyone and everyone playing games, and it very much succeeded in doing so. The problem there was that much of Nintendo's core audience, myself included, felt a little neglected. Nintendo focused so much on casual experiences that there weren't a lot of really meaty first-party experiences to go around. Nintendo chased after the casual market so hard that later their top priority was trying to replicate the Wii's success with the Wii U. The Wii U failing as it did was a natural consequence of the Wii's success. The Wii shaped Nintendo's perspective and priorities in damaging ways, which is why I maintain that the Wii was not exactly a healthy platform. The Switch, however, is a very different story. It burst out of the gate followed by some really incredible system-selling titles, and its hybrid nature makes it a higher value proposition than perhaps any Nintendo console before it. The install base is made up almost entirely of people who just genuinely love playing video games. This claim is supported by those sales numbers I keep talking about. It's easy to see that not only is Nintendo producing software that meshes with its audience, but seeing as that install base is made up of genuine hobbyists, software attach rates are at absurd highs. In case you don't know, a game's attach rate is the percentage of the install base that bought it. If 50 million people own Switches and a game sells 5 million copies, that game has a 10% attach rate. And while every Nintendo console has boasted a good handful of titles with extraordinarily high attach rates, thanks to evergreen IPs such as Mario Kart, and also thanks to to hardware bundles. On the Switch, we're seeing higher attach rates than anyone could have ever expected. Even huge IPs are selling more on Switch than on previous platforms, and that's even considering the Switch is in the middle of its life and these titles will continue to sell. I mean, the Wii had double the install base, and yet Switch titles are already outselling their Wii counterparts. See what I mean about platform health? Animal Crossing was already big, and now it's bigger than ever, with even more millions of fans jumping on board. Same with Smash, same with Zelda, same with 3D Mario. The big hitters are hitting bigger than ever. Even series that haven't been smash hits historically are seeing really good numbers, and this is what I want to highlight more than anything. Luigi's Mansion 3 has passed 6 million sales and could very easily inch its way up to 10 over the next few years. Mario Party has sold 1 or 2 million units per title on nearly every Nintendo system with a few outliers, and yet Super Mario Party has already passed 10 million units, making it the highest selling title in the series. Fire Emblem Three Houses has been a little more modest, closing in on 3 million, but considering the genre is fairly niche and the series has only just started clawing its way back out of obscurity, even 3 million will be seen as a great success, and no doubt that number will also continue to climb. The real point I want to highlight is that for a company, making money now is not the ultimate goal. Well, it shouldn't be the ultimate goal. It is for a lot of other companies indulging in self-destructive practices thanks to late-stage capitalism, definitely a bigger topic than we can cover today. But Nintendo has shown that they're in this for the long haul. They've been around for a while and they plan to keep it that way. And as I've probably said an annoying number of times by now, the Switch's biggest success isn't the money it's making, but the fans it's making. The more fans a series has, the more people will show up to buy subsequent titles, and the more likely they'll be to buy a new system to play those titles. I kinda hate the term brand loyalty, so I don't want to go that far, but we can say these people become invested. They grow to like the brand and stick around to purchase more products from that brand. And that's why this, right here, is Nintendo's big chance. They've gotten new people invested in so many of their IPs. And if they play their cards right with future consoles, those newly invested people are going to snowball into more and more. The positive results from these successes could be felt for hardware generations to come. All they need to do now is give the same kind of treatment to every single IP they possibly can. This is the generation of little guys becoming big guys, and big guys becoming even bigger guys. As I said in my other video, I have no reason to believe that Nintendo will mess up their next console and start to lose relevance again, but it's technically possible. They've made some really massive mistakes before. They've failed to read the market on a number of occasions. This could be their one big chance to earn as many fans as possible for the next few generations. And even if I don't think they're going to tank again, I do think it's in their best interest to pretend they are. In a healthy business, it isn't worth achieving success now at the expense of success later, but it is still extremely important to achieve success as early as possible when you reasonably can. The sooner you can make a product profitable, the more profit you'll earn in the long run. The more momentum you can build while the momentum building's good, the longer that momentum will carry you. We see this especially nowadays, when sometimes an IP will get so big that the hype machine keeps that momentum going effortlessly. The more visible something is in the public eye, the more people it will draw, which makes it more visible, which draws more people, etc. Exposure and growth can sometimes seem almost exponential. Many of Nintendo's smaller IPs are small for reasons that aren't always fair. Past titles were often at great disadvantages because of low install bases and because of predating this internet age, where exposure is easier to get than ever. Pikmin 1 and 2, for example, weren't very big successes, but that's because they were on the struggling GameCube. They were re-released on the less struggling Wii, but quantities were limited, and they were marketed in such a way that they mostly appealed to pre-existing fans. Pikmin 3 sold over 1 million, which isn't great, but not bad at all considering the Wii U's microscopic install base. All these games were critical darlings, but 0 of them have been given a fair shake. The Metroid series is also very familiar with this concept. There always seems to be something bringing each title down. Most recently, Samus Returns being a remake and releasing on a dying platform kept the trend going strong. Then of course you've got plenty of other series, some of which haven't had releases in years and years. But the gaming world is different now. The number of active gamers in the world has exploded. YouTube and streaming and social media have increased game exposure to a ridiculous degree, sometimes even in the case of extremely old properties with no recent releases. Honestly, how many of you have never played the original Paper Marios, but now you really want to because you hear me talk about it so much? Games are getting exposure even when people aren't actually playing them. All that combined with the Switch's success as a platform means that every single one of Nintendo's IPs should have another shot at success. It only makes sense. Legacy content is extremely important, as I obviously went on and on about in that other video. Mainly because providing us with a huge backlog of old games would be a relatively simple way for Nintendo to create fans of their old IPs and also to judge tastes and trends in order to better direct future titles. But that's an easy option. Right now, what I'm talking about is the less easy option. I'm talking about creating big new titles in all these established series. I'm talking about forgetting about past failures and starting fresh. Sure, there's some risk involved whenever you make a game in a struggling series. That's just the nature of the business. But I say the bigger risk is not capitalizing on this chance to make their smaller IPs more relevant than ever. By not acting, they are risking missing out on some potential success. Success that could positively impact these series and make them viable over the long term. On any given Nintendo platform, there will be some series that aren't fully represented. The Wii didn't give us a Star Fox or an original Pikmin. The Wii U didn't give us a full Animal Crossing title or any sort of Metroid. The Switch still hasn't gotten a fair number of series, obviously. Development gaps are natural, for sure. Nintendo doesn't keep every single IP in development at all times. But I feel like the Switch should be an exception. It's too good an opportunity to pass up. I mean, obviously they can't simultaneously develop games from literally every IP they own, but you and I both know what the ones with the biggest fan bases are. If the Switch gets a port of Pikmin 3, I'm sure it will sell better than it did on the Wii U. I'm willing to bet it will be the best-selling Pikmin game ever. But a big, exciting Pikmin 4 is what will really create new fans. Because as much as I think legacy content is important, and as much as I also think old content plus new content is the strongest possible combo, it's usually the new stuff that has the biggest impact. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is an exception because Mario Kart might just be Nintendo's #1 system-selling series, and New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe is kind of in the middle, selling a little more than the original, but not by too much. But in a lot of other cases, ports don't do nearly as well as new titles. Look at Tropical Freeze, Captain Toad, Pokken Tournament. The numbers are still fairly modest. These ports were a very good idea, and most Wii U ports are even outselling the originals, but it seems that there isn't quite as much of a demand for them. Maybe people don't want to pay full price for old games, maybe there just isn't as much hype for old games, who knows? Whereas, again, even series that have historically been modest sellers are seeing great success with their new titles. But we've also learned that Nintendo can't just throw out any old thing and expect it to catch fire. Specifics matter. Mario Tennis has always been a modest seller, and while Mario Tennis Aces is technically sitting at the top of the sales list for the series, it's still not that big a jump from previous titles. The game has terrific gameplay, but was harshly criticized by many, myself included, for a dearth of single-player content and a very disappointing story mode. It had the potential to launch the Mario Tennis series into a whole new era, but just kinda didn't. Kirby Star Allies is a similar story. It offers a lot of fan service for pre-existing players, but doesn't do much to capture the attention of anyone else. And I personally know several people who played the demo and were discouraged from playing it entirely thanks to its incredibly low difficulty. The game ranks up there with the best-selling Kirby games, but considering Kirby's long history and its potentially wide appeal, the sales were still very modest. Star Allies was a chance for Nintendo to turn Kirby into something bigger, and they didn't take it. But Arlo, you might be saying, you keep bringing up games failing to deliver and not seeing great success because of it. So why do you keep bringing up Super Mario Party as an example of a new game done right? Why did that sell so well when these other games didn't? Explain yourself. Yes, it is true that plenty of people were disappointed with the amount of content in Super Mario Party. But from my perspective, while there could have been more, there's still enough there to keep players busy for a long time, even single players. Also, this was the game where Nintendo Nintendo finally got rid of the car mechanic everyone hated, so it's possible that that alone was enough for most people. Even if it's not an example of the most ambitious Mario Party possible, it's still an example of Nintendo using a formula that clicks with the most people, and sometimes that's all it takes. I'll fully admit there could be some other factors contributing to the varying levels of success we see in these games, but to me, it all paints a pretty convincing picture. When Nintendo plays their cards right, the Switch grows properties. Some properties continue to grow no matter how the cards are played because they're already far too popular to lose momentum now, as I talked about a bit ago, but others that don't have that kind of benefit don't flourish nearly as well unless everything lines up. And don't think this whole time I've been accusing Nintendo of doing something wrong here. Dragging their feet on legacy content, yeah, I'll accuse them of that. The Switch is over 3 years old, and all this time they could have been leveraging that old content to their great benefit and our great pleasure. Not doing that is just bad business if you ask me. But as far as new titles go, I know they take time. For all I know, Pikmin 4 is on the way, along with a new 2D Metroid, and a Star Fox, and a WarioWare, and a Chibi Robo, and maybe even an F-Zero. I mean, we already know that a new Metroid Prime is coming. The Switch has still got 3 or 4 years of life left, and we have no idea what games those years will ultimately bring. But my point is that they should definitely use those years to give us new titles from those series that have been neglected or have otherwise not been too lucky. And they should definitely put their all into those games in order to give them the fairest chance possible, in order to test just how viable the properties are when the platform is healthy and the install base is invested and the internet is ready and waiting to get that hype machine rolling. Because picture one of Nintendo's several struggling to middling IPs. They got a lot to choose from, so that won't be hard. This IP has never been a high priority because each title can't seem to sell more than 1 or 2 million at the absolute most, maybe even less in some cases. But then one day, a new title hits the Switch, and simply because it's on the Switch and everything does better on the Switch, suddenly it does 3 or 4 million. Suddenly the executives up on the top floors of Nintendo HQ have got their eyes on that IP. Suddenly it looks like an IP with some potential, and that's going to affect how the IP is treated and prioritized moving forward. Now is the time for the company to grow its IPs because the company itself is growing. It's not the time to hesitate and ho-hum about this series not selling well enough last time, not having some weird gimmick to hinge a new game in that series on, and I can only hope that Nintendo feels the same way. If we've got 3 or 4 more years left in the Switch's life, that's enough time to develop a whole slew of games. I mean, heck, I've already talked about how Nintendo has already covered most of their biggest series. The main options now are giving us sequels to those big hitters, maybe a few new things, and of course, those final IPs that have yet to be represented. Your Pikmans, your Starflex, your Murgatroyds, your F-Zeros, your Catechrises, whatever. Even completely defunct series like Golden Sun. You know when the best time to try bringing back Golden Sun is? Right stinking now. It's a bold new time for Nintendo. Everything has potential now. It's free real estate. And no, I'm not just making this video because Pikmin and Metroid are some of my favorite Nintendo series and they're constantly struggling and they release inconsistently and I desperately want new titles on Switch. I mean, I guess I kind of am, but those other struggling series are important too. I might not be a Chibi Robo fan, but there are plenty of people who are, and those people deserve another chance. Everyone deserves another chance. Well, my annoyed friends, you can finally brush the figurative chunks of sandwich off your shirt because I'm done ranting for now. Do you agree that Nintendo's less successful IPs should be given another chance on Switch? Or do you... I can't even entertain the idea of an opinion contrary to that. Who wouldn't think it was a good idea to represent struggling series when nearly every series on Switch is entering a new era of success? I have no idea, but if that's you, then yeah, I guess let me know down in the comments. Thank you for watching, and you have yourself a great roast beef and provolone on Dutch Crunch with peppers, spinach, avocado, and sprouts. I mean, a day. You have a great day. Where's my wallet?